just a bloke in a bar.
Welcome to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith on SEN. Another episode, another week of footy. We've got the Olympics on. I've got Smithy with me. How you going, brother?
Kempy, I'm going good, mate. I'm just enjoying all the sport on telly at the moment. The Olympics, we got a couple of gold medalists. Owen Wright took our bronze in the surfing. How good, mate? How good?
I tell you what, mate, it has been beautiful. Obviously, we're winning medals, but also we've got coaches dry humping the air. That's what we want Australian coaches to be doing. We've got our girls representing us beautifully. It's just come up on the screen in the studio here. It gets me excited. We've got them swearing on international TV representing us the way us Aussie battlers deserve to be represented. How good have our girls been for starters? And then also Owen winning our first ever medal in surfing.
Yes, and I heard him on radio just before with Vossi talking about the bronze medal and how he can hopefully inspire some of the young surfers getting around the country at the moment to not only be a part of, say, the World Tour, but they could be Olympians now. Like, how good's that? He's now an Olympic medalist, Owen Wright, so well done, mate. Great job representing the country. But Kaylee McEwen, seriously, takes out the 100-metre backstroke. She's the current world record holder too. But what better way could you celebrate in Australian style than something like this?
Your mum Sharon and your big sister Taylor are there watching. It's been such a difficult time for your whole family.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to your mum and your sister for now?
Yeah,
Yes.
That's the way the Aussies celebrate.
Absolutely. We don't care where we are, we'll bring you down to our level. We will bring you down to our level and we'll beat you. We'll beat you there. That's what we did. We brought everyone down to our level and then we beat you in the mud.
Yes.
How good is that? How good are our girls in swimming?
Mate, flying.
Absolutely flying. So, I mean, just first of all, congratulations to all the Olympians for getting selected, but
Yes.
then also to represent us so well.
Yes.
I love it, mate. I think it's so good to see so much character in it's been such a tough year for everyone, and see our girls and guys go over there and just entertain everyone so, I guess, thoroughly.
Yep. Now, speaking about character and showing a little bit of your own sort of spice on the way you carry on, talk to me about Ariana Titmus's coach and his reaction to her 400-metre freestyle win against Katie Ledecky. Talk me through that.
Mate, I tell you what, if you want someone going in a battle with you, I want Titmus's coach. If I'm going to war, I'm calling Titmus's coach first. It was so good to just see that passion, just pour out of him, and that will be forever etched in the history of the Olympics. That will be forever etched as a crazy moment of the outpouring of everything they've ever worked for. He
was inspired by, he's got a favourite wrestler. Do we know who the wrestler was? It escapes my memory at the moment, but apparently he was inspired by his favourite wrestler, and that was the way he reacted after a win in the ring or something. I don't know, but
mate, how good is that?
Ric
Flair. I'm going to say Ric Flair.
No, it wasn't Ric Flair. No, it wasn't Ric Flair. But anyway, it was an A-grade carry on. But anyway, well done. I'd carry on like that too if I just won gold. But well done, girls.
Ultimate Warrior. We've got the Ultimate Warrior. They reckon it's the
Ultimate Warrior. There you go. Ultimate Warrior. He used to get up on the side of the ring and grab the ropes and just go mad, like he grabbed the railing and nearly. What about the marshal, the young lady, the Olympics marshal? She did not know what was going on.
Anxiety through the roof.
Oh, wow.
Her anxiety was through the roof. She had footwork that could really. I was impressed by her footwork. To keep that metre distance, she kept that metre distance the whole time. Someone sign her up. Sign her up. Bronx, we need someone at the back there. Broncos, get her across here. We're going to have footwork coming out of there. But, huge news. Obviously, as we said, congratulations to all the Olympians representing us so well. So proud to be Australian right now. But on to rugby league. Australia and New Zealand together pulled out of the World Cup. Now, you had a lot to do with the Rugby League Players Association. So for people that are listening, they represent the players and they're the connection to, say, Australian Rugby League or the NRL. Now, my understanding is the players didn't really get much of a heads up. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on how it all went down, and what are your thoughts on the actual decision of pulling out?
Yeah, well, it seems as though, Kempy, that there wasn't a whole lot of consultation with the players and their thoughts around continuing on with the World Cup and taking part, travelling over to England to be a part of it. And, you know, I thought we went through all of this earlier in the year when there were these drastic rule changes around the high contact and that, Peter V'landys and the commission, they actually come out and said, look, if there's one regret that we have is that there was a lack of consultation with the players and the RLPA. Now, it seems as though that it's happened again. I understand this is on a much larger scale, the factors around deciding not to go over or not to send a team over, given the pandemic going on at the moment, the situation in the UK where there are thousands and thousands of people contracting the virus on a daily basis. But you still need to involve your players, don't you? Seriously, you really need to. In particular, Daly Cherry Evans, he's the general president of the RLPA, and there'll be several senior players involved as delegates of the club and as representatives of the playing group. There's a playing group of about 500 players. So, they need to be consulted on such a big decision. Would it have changed what happened? I don't think so. I don't think they would have gone anyway, but you still need to consult those players, surely.
Oh, I mean, it was when I read, DCE's response to it, which was very measured, and there was no mudslinging or anything like that. But it was also clear that they weren't really consulted. The issue is that, as you said, the last issue that was clearly handled incorrectly, admittedly by the Australian Rugby League Commission.
Yep.
And then they have their next opportunity to prove that they meant what they said. They meant what they said, which was we would speak to the player, or we should have spoken to the players.
Yep.
Now, it's the players that are risking their health to go over there. So
That's
even
right.
if I agree with you that it probably wouldn't have changed the outcome, but it's a much more united front. If you go to the players and say, this is what we're thinking, what do you think? And then the players go, we want to go, because that was the majority vote that I'm hearing, that most of the players did want to go. Then ARLC can go, okay, let's go and try to work it out. They go to try to work it out. They go back to the players and say, guys, it's just not tenable.
Yes.
That's a much more united front as together we tried to make it work and it can't work for us, rather now than, well, the players weren't even consulted. We don't even know what's going on.
Yes. Correct, mate. I totally agree with you. And it'd probably be interesting to get some of our listeners on board if you want to text in your thoughts on the Kangaroos and the Kiwis not being involved. 0457 736 736. It's a big one. It's a big one. Now, is the World Cup going ahead?
Mate,
Like, are the
honestly,
RLIF still going ahead with the World Cup, even without Australia and New Zealand?
well, there's so many things that can go wrong here, because there's a lot of people that could play for Australia that are eligible for Tier 2 nations. So wouldn't it be a PR disaster for Australia Rugby League and New Zealand if you had a guy like Tedesco that said, all right, you're not going to let me play for Australia, I'm going to play for Italy.
Wow.
Which is, technically they actually aren't allowed to stop that from happening.
Yeah.
So that could actually happen. And you would think that the people in the positions of power that want the Rugby League World Cup to go ahead would be saying to the players, come on, please let it happen. But then you would think that Australia and New Zealand would be saying, please don't do this. So it's created a potential disaster.
Now, who then gets involved, say, with the Tedesco situation? And there's a lot of players that are in that same boat where they can represent either New Zealand or Australia, but then if they're not available for those teams, they can represent second-tier nations. Do the clubs then get involved as their employee and say, listen, we pay you a salary. We are not letting you go over to the UK, which could jeopardise your health and really like your future employment.
But this is a problem. Wayne Bennett, Trent Robinson have already come out and said they will not stand in the way of players. And that's the problem. If you had have gone and spoken to the players, you could have got a united front.
Yes.
And this is the concern of not discussing it with the players, is that this situation now arises where you've got guys from Samoa and Tonga that are going to go and represent Samoa and Tonga. Of course they are. Mm-hmm. And then you've got other guys that are like, well, Wayne said we can go, so the Rabbitohs go. Yep. But then let's say Brisbane go, you're not allowed to go. Well, hang on a sec. How come that team's allowed to go? And this is the disaster that not communicating with the players creates.
Well, we received one text. Hey, boys, Phil Gould said the other day that some players were consulted about the World Cup. Wow.
Look, DCE's the guy that matters. He's the head of the
that's
rugby
right.
league.
That's right. And if he was spoken to, I'm sure he would have said that.
Yeah, he would have said, yeah, we had a heads up and we disagree, but they'd let us know. And
Yes.
and the whole some players were consulted. Okay, but there's 500 players.
That's right.
So if there was 10 players consulted, then it's whatever. Okay, cool. 10 players knew about it and DCE didn't.
All right, quick one for you. If you were a current Kangaroos player, would you want to go and play in the World Cup this year in the UK?
Well, look, we're talking very highly unlikely. We're talking different dimensions here. But if we're in the dimension where I actually could make the Australian side, absolutely. That's my country. That's something I show my kids. That's something my kids' kids. That's something that, I know I'm getting a bit deep here, but both my grandfathers fought in the war for this country.
Yep.
And I know that's a far deeper, much more serious thing.
Yes.
But that's how much it means to me, because I know as if I'm not going to represent my grandparents, that would be so proud that I could put that jersey on. So absolutely I would be.
No, fair point, mate.
What about
Fair
yourself?
point.
If you were in this, if you were to look, Smithy, if you were to be considered for selection,
Yes.
I'm not sure you'd make the side, mate. But if you were to be considered for the selection, would you go?
Well, I'd actually been thinking about this a little bit, and I spoke again the other day on SEM with Vossi. But given I've been lucky enough to be involved in 3 World Cups, Kempy, and the situation going on overseas, I probably wouldn't go. Well,
Okay.
sorry. Let's clear this up. Not probably. I wouldn't go over.
If it was your debut, though,
Well, different story. Yeah, different story. I
I guess that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, okay. If it's my debut, it's my first opportunity to go over. I think I'd have a very different outlook.
Yep.
But let's just say I was still playing now, and I hadn't retired, and I was still fortunate enough to be playing for the Australian side, I would probably sit it out.
The interesting thing is this is the conversation that should have been had with all the players.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And
Like just the current Kangaroo or the team that played in the last Test match for Australia, get them involved. Maybe a handful of others that are on the sort of fringe of representing the country. Hey fellas, let's have a phone hookup, whatever it is. Have a discussion about who's willing to go, who's willing to go, who's not, and let's just get a bit of an understanding of where we're at.
What's really interesting is Brett Finch, the great Brett Finch. He said on my podcast that in 2001, I think, and you may have been around for that time and you might remember it, with everything that happened in America, the 9/11, the Trade Center, there was a lot of tension around getting on planes. And so they were given the option, look, if you're not comfortable flying overseas, I don't know if it was 2001 or whatever year it was.
Yep.
And apparently, again, this is the Finch man, so he may have been spinning a yarn, but he may not have been. He's usually really good with this stuff, really good. He said that Shane Webke chose not to go, and there were 1 or 2 other guys.
Yep.
And I just think you had to give everyone the option
Yes.
to go and sign waivers and do everything safe as possible. Now, on the flip side of that, though, I understand Australia and New Zealand, I understand their perspective of they have worked so hard to say that no NRL player has gotten COVID.
That's right.
If a player went over there and got COVID, that is bad PR for Australia and New Zealand, even though it's not under their jurisdiction per se, in the sense that it is because they're taking care of them, but they're not running the tournament.
Yeah, and mate, that's the biggest thing for me. Like that, I'd be thinking about the reasons why I wouldn't want to go. I don't want to contract COVID.
Yeah.
Particularly as an athlete, because you just don't know the effect it's going to have on you. Like there was a couple of Will Chambers was before he come back into the NRL for the Sharkies. He was over in Japanese rugby. He was telling us a story about how a couple of his teammates in Japan contracted COVID. As we know, it's quite serious over there, the outbreak. They'll never play rugby again. Wow. They will never play rugby again because of the effect that COVID has had on their lungs. The damage it caused to their lungs, they will never be able to play elite sport again.
Oh, my. Well, what's really interesting, there was actually a UFC fighter that got COVID and he was busted for like 6 to 7 months and I think he still hasn't fought again.
There you go.
And so, wow, that is true. Like I think hearing that, I think that makes me go, you know what? Wow, that's I want to keep playing footy, even
That's
though
right.
I'd probably get sacked anyway when I went over there. Probably do something stupid. But I still want to try to keep playing. Anyway, guys, make sure to text 0457 736 736. Join us after the break. We'll be talking Dale Finucane to the Tigers and Bellyache extension. Welcome back to the Captain's Run with Cameron Smith. We've got huge signing news that there's so many falling pieces for the Storm, for other clubs, for the Tigers, for the Sharks. Dale Finucane to the Sharks on a 4-year deal. First of all, let me get your thoughts on that signing, Big Smitty.
Well, Kempy, it's a great signing for the Sharkies, and particularly with Craig Fitzgibbon taking over as head coach next year and having a little bit to do with Dale through the New South Wales Blues system. He'd know exactly what Dale will bring to their club. And I guess, Dale now being or coming towards the end of his career, or not coming towards the end, let's say he's closer to the end than he is the beginning. He knows exactly what he's bringing with him as far as, his professionalism towards his training, his preparation, the things he does away from the football field. This signing, I believe, on a 4-year deal is not just about his footballing ability. It's everything that he brings with him as well, and something that will help guide this football side and particularly the young players around him into what Craig, I guess, is trying to build a strong culture, a winning culture, and put them in a position where they can be fighting for a premiership in the next few years.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic signing. And for people listening, from a guy like, I was never, definitely wasn't a player that was, with a lot of influence or whatever. But when you hear Dale Finucane's name and you hear some of the best players in our game with some of the best careers on paper, that we've ever seen.
Yep.
Everyone speaks so highly of Finucane, and it's not just a throwaway line. These are the tough men, toughest men of tough men, the elite of the elite.
Mm-hmm.
They look at Finucane and go, he is a guy that you get behind, he can lead you. And that's why I think Craig Fitzgibbon has done such a good job at signing a guy that is respected by men that most people respect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been lucky enough to be Dale's teammate. He's been involved in the leadership group in Melbourne for several years. He's now one of the co-captains of the Melbourne Storm with Jesse Bromwich. So it speaks volumes of not only the player that Dale is, but certainly the person and what he can bring to an organisation. If you're considered to be a strong enough leader and certainly capable of being the captain of Melbourne, then a guy like Craig Bellamy, who many consider to be the greatest coach of the modern era, if he believes in you, then you know that you're going to do a very good job elsewhere as well. So it's a great signing by the Sharks. It's unfortunate that Dale couldn't stay on at Melbourne, but I'm guessing there was a fair bit of difference in the financial part of the contract, and also 4 years. Like 4 years is great for his security for him and his young family.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I've got no evidence to suggest this is just with my experiences and what I hear of Dale Finucane as a bloke. I would assume that Dale Finucane is the kind of guy. Let's say, because some people would the negative outlook of this, Dale Finucane is around 30 years old in year 3 or 4.
Yes.
Could he struggle with injury? Is he going to struggle to put together the games he needs to put together on a big contract? I would assume that, there would be things in the contract that would potentially say...
Yep, clauses.
Clauses, because contracts not all contracts are the same.
No.
Some contracts have clauses that say if you play X games, you get this or you get that. And I would also assume that Dale is the kind of guy that if he isn't prepared or able to play NRL,
yes,
I can't see him sitting in reserve grade for the last year of his contract, sucking up the salary cap.
No.
He's not that kind of person. So I would, again, I don't know what the future's going to bring, but Sharks fan, I would just ease your minds that he is such a highly touted player. I doubt he would do that. What do you think about that, Smith?
Oh, I agree with you, Kempy. He's a very upfront, honest person, and if that situation ever arose, and we don't know the particulars of Dale's agreement with the Sharkies, but I'd go as far to say that if there's no clauses in there and that situation arose in, say, year 3 or year 4 of his deal where he can't quite get up for the rigors of NRL week to week. He is not going to take the money off their cap. There's no way. There is absolutely no way. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, where and he and Dale decided, look, I can't handle the game anymore, the speed of the game, the physicality, whatever it was, and he would put his hand up and say, look, I think it's the right time for me to move on, and maybe stay on at the club as a mentor, as a coach, or something along those lines that we've seen, several players do over the last few years.
Yeah, it's an incredible signing. I think Craig Fitzgibbon as a coach, I have heard such good things. Now, Sharkies, I don't want to get you too excited, but guess who the defensive coach was for New South Wales this year specifically? Craig Fitzgibbon. Guess who one of the defensive coaches is for the Roosters and was the defensive coach or assistance coach in their back-to-back years? Craig Fitzgibbon. This guy, he's good. He's real good. And I think that he's going to bring those boys together. He demands respect with such an illustrious career, but also he's proven to an extent. Now, obviously, head coaching is different, but he's proven that he can recruit the right guys.
Yep.
He's proven that he can recruit big names. Now, on the flip side of that, Tigers, they seem to be struggling to recruit big names. They went after Tavita Pangai Jr., then they got cold, then they went after him and they announced it. And then, Tavita decided to go with the Bulldogs, and then it seemed that they were going for Finucane. What's happening at the Tigers, Smithy?
Did they chase Finucane?
That's the, it is reportedly,
Yes,
allegedly,
allegedly,
and all
yes.
that kind of stuff.
Yes.
I mean, look, if they didn't, that's absolute insanity.
Why wouldn't you?
Oh my God! Every club every club that doesn't have a Ret 13 or front rower should have been at least in discussions with him, in my opinion.
Yep. And I've said also I was a little bit surprised that we didn't hear much of the Bulldogs around Dale, given that's where he started his career, and he played a couple of grand finals with them. So he actually knows about the organisation and what it's all about, and he's experienced success there. And I know that's what Trent Barrett as coach and now Gus Gould as part of the staff there are trying to bring back to Belmore. So I was a little bit surprised about that. But the situation at the Tigers, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know. And after they got absolutely hammered by the Storm, when Jimmy Tarmo was doing an interview afterwards and he was talking about, little rumblings happening here and there, you questioned about, like, what's actually happening in the organisation? Is it all is it football? Is it admin? Is it a mix of both? I'm not too sure, but I think that's just it's almost put like a bit of a red flag around the club when it comes to trying to recruit some of these bigger name players.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, make sure to shoot us a text 0457 736 736. This is a captain's run with Cameron Smith for Best Sheds. Best Sheds are up to 40% cheaper. Back shortly on SEN. Welcome back to the captain's run with Cameron Smith. Shoot us a text anytime 0457 736 736. Now, we've got a great question here. I'm trying to find it. We've got so many. They're flying in. I've lost the text. Anyway, it was a text
what's
about,
happened?
Oh, no. They're too excited, mate. The boys and the girls are too excited.
I'll tell you what's going on, mate. The text messages are just flying in. We can't keep up with them. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
The text was about Penrith Panthers. Now,
yes,
we actually spoke about this before the show, Smithy, and they've struggled with a few injuries, and now not only Luai, Luai's been back, but he was out for a couple of weeks. Cleary is out, but Brian Toll out for 6 weeks minimum, and will be back for round 1 of finals week. What do you think about that?
Huge. When I seen this yesterday, I thought, wow, Penrith, they're in a little bit of trouble. I believe. Now, by no means am I writing Penrith off, so any Panthers fans listening to the show today, please don't think that I'm writing you off, because never write off the great sides. But this is huge for Penrith. Now, people talk about Penrith and their ability to their style of footy and Cleary and Luai and how important they are. Brian To'o, although he's not involved in a key position in the middle and he's not handling the ball a lot, what he brings to that side, it gives them an ability to start attacking in their sets early with his ball. I think he's got the most run meters.
Easily, yep.
I think he's got the most. Has he got the most post-contact meters?
He's got the most post-contact meters by 4 or 5 games.
There you go.
He's averaging 95 post-contact meters per game.
Wow. So he's got the most run meters. He's got the most post-contact meters. He's got the most tackle breaks as well, I believe.
He's second behind for Feeder, but for Feeder is,
There
on
you go.
level.
Second.
Yeah.
So guys, that just shows the importance of Brian To'o and what he brings to that side, particularly like early tackles, getting good field position, getting them down the field, momentum for his ball carriers, and particularly Cleary and Luai to play off the back of. So him being out for 6 weeks, and then when he comes back, he's coming back, just before finals?
Like round one of finals.
First week of finals, he's going to be a little bit rusty. You would think. But, wow, start of the year, you're talking about Penrith, and this is their year. They're coming off a grand final loss, and they started the season so well. Now they've had injuries to Luai. He's now back. Cleary still question marks over his fitness. Brian To'o out for 6 weeks, and just on Cleary, I've got a gut feeling his shoulder injury is a little bit more serious than what we're being told.
Oh, mate.
That's just my gut feeling. Now, we're told he's just going to rehab for, 6 to 8 weeks, and he'll be back to finish. I was there live at the game when he was injured, and seeing him move and how he struggled to move, I've got a gut feeling it's a little bit more serious than what we're being told.
Mate, I totally agree. And with my own experience, in my debut year, I actually did a similar injury. And once it goes, and now, science has gotten much better, and Cleary's much better than me and probably much tougher. But once it begins popping out, it continues to pop out. So, for example, his first game back, whoever is playing him is going to be sending the big boys at him all day long. And it's going to be hard for him to rehab it enough in 6 weeks to prevent it from subluxing continuously. Especially, he might get through one game, but then the two game, the 3 game. You're right. It's a much bigger concern than they've, which obviously they're going to do that. They need to protect him as a player.
Yep.
But just quickly, before the grand final last year, was To'o someone that you identified as a key player in the Penrith Panthers side?
Talking about the importance and of him to that football side and the way he got their set started, we spoke about Brian To'o, I reckon, just as much as we spoke about Cleary.
Wow.
And the importance of the way we needed to defend both players. So obviously different types of players and what they brought to their side, but for Brian To'o, it was about having a smart kicking plan around him and where we kicked to him and how we gave him the ball on the end of our sets, and really coming up with devising a plan on how to minimise the impact he was going to have on the game. And it was more about taking away his ability to run the football, to break tackles, and if we did that, we were always going to gain momentum in their attacking sets early.
Mate, could you please send that to me in a text? And then I'm going to shoot that up to the Broncos. I'm going to shoot it up to the Broncos, and we will move forward from there as a club. But it is interesting. We're seeing potentially the birth of a powerhouse, but this is the growing pains that Storm went through, that the Roosters went through.
Yes.
This is the crucial, I guess, make or break for Penrith in the sense that they have to find a way to overcome this if they want to be considered in the same conversation as Roosters and the Storm.
Yeah, well, and that's you're right, mate. That's what the good sides have done in the past is that, when things haven't necessarily gone to plan or everything gone their way, they've found ways around that. But at the same time, to be able to win a premiership, a lot of things have to go your way. Now, that's injuries, that's suspensions, sometimes a bounce of the ball from game to game. Watching the Storm play at the moment, that's what's happening for them. They're playing with a lot of confidence and they're playing quite freely, and everything just seems to be working for them. I've got my fingers crossed that continues. I just hope that luck doesn't run out. But when you're working hard, at training and you're working hard throughout the matches for each other, for your teammates, those things tend to happen. You get the bounce of the ball, you get a 50-50 call go your way. All of that's happening for the Storm at the moment, but the Penrith Panthers, they're going through a run of bad luck at the moment, particularly with injuries that they haven't faced over the last 18 months.
Speaking of the Storm, your mate, the great Craig Bellamy, re-signs, extends for 5 years. Now, the first 2 years is as head coach. The next 3 years after that, he has a choice to either continue as head coach or move into head of football at the club. That's my understanding. It could be completely wrong, but that's my understanding of the situation. What are your thoughts on that?
Mate, he's too smart. He's too smart. He threatens the Storm that he's going to leave. He's talking to the Sharks. He's talking to the Broncos. And
he was coming to the Broncos.
And then he
was coming.
And then he says, "Oh no, I'm going to retire." And then what do the Storm do? They say, "Oh righto, mate, we'll give you more money." And then he says, "Righto, I'll stay for 5 years."
Yeah,
he's staying for 5 years for about 20 million. It's ridiculous.
Mate, he's a shrewd operator, old bellyache, shrewd operator.
Oh, he plays the nice guy, doesn't he? Oh, I'm just concentrating on football and doing my job, mate. Rubbish. He's going to
buy a break,
mate. He's already got about 5 apartments down at Coolangatta. He's going to buy the whole building complex now,
mate. Honestly, look. This is just rumours and speculation, but I'm pretty sure he was on the flight with Jeff Bezos into space. I think he actually paid for a seat with him. That's rumour and speculation. I can't confirm that, guys. Don't shoot the messenger. We'll just quickly read out some text. Hello, gents. I keep hearing that the game isn't what it once was, but it has really changed that dramatically. Parramatta and Canterbury dominated the 80s. They were clearly superior. Oh, sorry, it's a bit of a long text. Hi, boys. I would like your opinions on the current judiciary system, especially when it comes to carryover points. Last weekend, both Thomas Flegler and Luke Thompson copped 10 mins in the bin for completely, very different scenarios.
Yep.
What do you think about that situation with the judiciary?
Well, there's been a lot of people have said about carryover points and loading things and this and that, and I don't know. It all becomes a little bit confusing for myself. Just do yourself a favour, boys. Don't hit anyone in the head. Don't tip anyone on their head. Don't sit on anyone's head, and you'll be okay. Just try and keep yourself away from the judiciary.
Yeah, I know, because you don't know. It's a lucky draw. Now, good chat, men. This is from Joel Caine, the great Joel Caine. Storm held To'o to just 114 metres in the grand final.
There you go. And what's he averaging this year, mate? Off the top of your head, over 200 metres, surely.
Yes, he's actually on par. He got injured, but he was on track to average the most metres of any player ever.
Ridiculous.
So Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's got the record, but he played 26 games. Whereas To'o is not going to play 26 games, but his average is actually higher than
per match
than Rogers was, which is incredible. Here's some more text here. I can't see Cleary play anymore this year. My spy tells me that Rod at Nowra. Okay, that sounds good. What's up, Beacon Goat? What are your thoughts on Sharks pack in 2022? The signings of Dale and McGuinness, along with the existing stocks of Graham, Rudolph, Talakai, Ueli.
Strong. Very strong. Yeah, very strong. And older heads too, which is, good to have in the forward pack. I just hope they all stay fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, last text. The Broncos are reportedly unable to offer Tessie New a new deal because of their salary cap situation. Do Rabbitohs loom as his best possible location with Gagai moving on? Thoughts on Gagai to Newcastle Knights, just quickly?
He's going back?
He's going back.
Yeah, well, I think it was a place that he really enjoyed playing at. And he's a wonderful player, Gags. I was lucky enough to play alongside him in the Origin side many times. Wonderful fella, got a great little family. I think it's a great addition for Newcastle.
Oh, it's massive. I've actually noticed an issue, and, no knock on the boys, but Newcastle's outside backs have a tendency to have a lot of errors, a lot more errors than their forwards. So I think he's going to square up, shore up that back line with experience and try to reduce the errors. But that's we will be joined by the great Tristan from TopSport after the break. But this is a captain's run with Cameron Smith with Best Sheds. Best Sheds are up to 40% cheaper. When we come back, we catch up with Tristan from TopSport for the latest odds. I tell you what, if there was an Olympic sport for my heart, Tristan would win gold every single time he played. We've got the great Tristan from TopSport. How you going, mate?
Very good, Kempy. I wish my wife said the same thing. How you going, boys? It's a big week of sport, isn't it? We've got plenty of activity. Obviously, the pool's been great action for the Aussies. We've got plenty of gold medals. We've got 3 under our belt already, and there's a few on the way. So it's great viewing. What's the events that have been capturing your eyes?
You know what obviously the swimming, because we're very strong at it. You know what I enjoy watching? Badminton.
Mate, I tell you what.
Tristan, that response was like, discuss badminton.
No, but you know what? Badminton separate the boys from the men and the women from the girls. I tell you what, when you can move around the court like that and put it in the back corners, bring them up to the net.
Yep.
I used to dominate at badminton at school.
Yeah, I loved it. Yep, year 12 champion at Marsden
It's a very
High.
entertaining sport. No, and I think that's the thing about the Olympics. It just captivates everyone in different sports. And I brought up the badminton market now, which I'm going to have a crack at a couple of these names. Kento Mawamoto is the favourite for the men's single from Japan. So there aren't too many Aussies in that list. But yeah, it's an exciting sport. And as you say, the swimming's been great. We've got a big day coming up for the girls. For Ariane Titmus, of course, in the 200 metres freestyle, where she's a very short price favourite to get the gold today.
Wow.
She's $1.25.
Wow.
So $1.25 after getting the win, obviously, a couple of days ago. She's renewing her rivalry with Katie Ledecky, who's $5. So there's another Aussie in the field as well, Madison Wilson. She's rough. She's $67, but $7 to claim a medal. So you never know. There could be a couple of medals there in the 200 freestyle. But one of the events I'm pretty keen to see is the men's relay, where we're second favourite. This is the men's 4x200 freestyle. Great Britain are $1.30. They've been well back. They were $2.60 about a week ago, and they've been smashed. So I'd love to see the Aussies get over the top of them at $4.80. It'd be great to see the Aussies pip the Poms for more ways than one. But the other thing I know you touched on last week, Smithy, was the women's rugby. The girls are in action today, so that's another one where we're obviously a chance to get a medal. They're $7.50 second favourite to win the gold. Where obviously New Zealand's very short there, but we're $1.70 to get a medal, and we're in Pool C, so $1.55 to win that one. So plenty of sport on the horizon today, and I'm looking forward to watching it, and I'll make sure I pay extra attention to the badminton so we can have a more in-depth chat about that next week.
And just with the girls, we're the reigning Olympic champions, aren't we? The
that's
girls
right.
Union.
Yeah, we won the inaugural gold
are.
medal in the women's rugby sevens.
So there might be a bit of jam there.
Definitely, and they're taking on the host country today, 11:30 against Japan. So we're 26.5 point favourites. So you'd expect us to get a result there. But if we can get we've seen some surprises already in the with them. Unfortunately, the men's obviously getting knocked out there. So there are definitely chances of some surprises in this competition. I think it's a little bit different to their week in, week out events. So definitely a bit of value for the Aussies if you think they can get a result against the Kiwis.
Mate, it's always good to hear from you, Tristan. Always good. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to gamble responsibly.
There you go.
Whether it's same-game multi or head-to-head betting, TopSport gives you top dollar for everything AFL. Gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-858-858.
Round 20 preview. We have but before the round 20 preview, we'll get through some. Oh no, we probably don't have the time. We don't have the time.
We've run out
Smithy.
of time, mate.
Okay, we've got the Roosters versus the Eels.
Look, I think the Roosters. I think this will be a really close game. I actually called the Eels game last week, where Canberra got over the top. Well, actually going back to the tips last week, mate. Tipped a roughie, the Raiders.
Yes, you did.
Text you straight after the match.
Yes, you did.
But let's not focus too much on that. I think I think the Roosters might get up here.
The Roosters. I'm looking at the Eels bounce back. I just think that they're going to be filthy. They lost to the Raiders last week.
Yep, that's fair.
Yes, they are without Mitchell Moses, but Roosters are also out without quite. But I think it's going to be a close game, a really good game. I'm loving what the Roosters are showing as a club. You know, they often get associated with glitz and glamour, but they got a tough underbelly, and they're showing that this year.
Yes.
Tigers, Warriors.
Oh, look, well, Roger's gone. Roger's now gone back to New Zealand. Look, I think West Tigers can get this done.
I agree. I think the Tigers are going to get the job done. Broncos, Cowboys.
Oh, well, you know what I hope about this game? I hope it goes down to one of those golden point field goal games that we used to watch almost every time these two teams met.
Yep.
Now, the Cowboys were quite good. I'm not too sure whether the Storm were off their game a bit last week, but I'm gonna go Broncos.
Yes, Smithy.
I'm with you.
Yes, let's go. I'm going Broncos too. Dragons, Rabbitohs.
Rabbitohs way too good.
Yes, Rabbitohs. Knights, Raiders.
If the Raiders defend like they did last week, Raiders.
Raiders also. Penrith, Storm.
Oh, I think with the players out for Penrith, I'm going to go Storm.
I'm going Storm. Doggies, Titans.
Titans too good.
Sharks, Manly.
Manly keep rolling on.
Episode 11 done and dusted. If you missed anything from the show, make sure you download the app. This has been the Captain's Run for Best Sheds, 40% off. Talk to Best Sheds today, bestsheds.com.au.